Hello, Mr. Okta. My name is Kevin Satriawan, and my name is 332000051. So today I'm gonna show you my answer of this poetry final project. So without further ado, let's get into it. First question: analyze intrinsic and extrinsic elements. Intrinsic: A. Figurative language. Personification. In the passage of the poem above, there are phrases lived out and seem to live. Both of these phrases are the personification of the saw machine, can jump like a human or a living creature jumping towards the hand of the boy. Simile. In the passage of the poem above, simile is marked by the use of the word as a comparison word. Frost compares death and human desire. When death comes, humans cannot avoid its arrival. Symbol. In the passage of the poem above, there is the word half hour, which is symbol of the short childhood experience by the child because of him required to work to meet their daily needs. Through symbol, Frost also explained that human life in that world is short. Death is the next eternal human life. Irony. Frost expressed satire towards the living conditions and that through a story about a child who clearly death will come to him, but he can never dodge though that was not what he wanted to happen. Alliteration. From the line above, there are the words snarl, rattle, and yard. If line the first time the poem out is read, there will be a similar sound generated. The resulting sound equation is the sound equation formed from the repetition of the sound D, which gives a more impression or effect. Beautiful in poetry when read. Imagery, auditory imagery. The 19th line contains the word outcry, which means shout or noise. Meanwhile, the word laugh has the meaning of laughing. Frost used both the word to make the sound of the child's cry more real. By reading the line 19, Frost invites readers to listen to how the child is in pain and cried when his hand was cut off. Visual imagery. Frost visualized the child's state when death comes approach him. She lay sucking her lips from the difficulty of breathing and bear the pain. With the visual imagery Frost used on that line, the reader will see that state in his mind or his own imagination. Olfactory imagery. Sweet scent means fragrant aroma. Frost brings his poetry to life by providing the use of olfactory imagery by describing the smell arising from the fragrant residue of saw cuttings. The scent appears when the wind blows over it. By reading the third line of the poem in this case, the reader will also feel how the fragrant aroma wafted from the wind breeze. Kinesthetic imagery. We can see that the phrase "rain light above" as we saw a movement when used. A fast-moving sewing machine movement saw to it that we can predict how the coming of death, the process of death so fast in humans. Organic imagery. Frost uses the word fright, which means fear. Flavor. Fear is a feeling that can only arise from within humans themselves and arise because of a cause that frightens them. On a piece of poetry, 30 line, fear arises because of the people who witnessed the death of the child of the man. Tone. The poet emphasized that the saw is a tool that sometimes can be savage when used. Snarled and rattled are sound growl that appears when the saw is used, the noise that makes a lot of noise when we listen. Theme. The theme is the general description that the poet wants to convey to the reader. The poem Out by Robert Frost takes the theme about the picture of the dead that we cannot know how and when that comes. We can see this theme line by line in the poem that describes how death comes without knowing who, when, where, and how death comes. Extrinsic. First, the depiction of death in Robert Forrest's poem Out. The poem Out by Robert Frost tells the story of a death that came suddenly to a child who worked as a woodcutter. That is a certainty that is the end of everything that happens humans can do in the world. Frost, through his poetry, describes how death comes suddenly and the process so quickly change a situation. So the situation is the opposite of before to human attitude towards death. Apart from the fear experienced by the onlookers, the death of the child, they also consider the death of the child to be insignificant. Although on the other hand, they fear the death to themselves. A child is just a child who has not contributed much or existence in the world society. That makes the existence of the child destroyed and will never realize what he wants for his life tomorrow. 3. Moral values contained in the poem. The moral value implied in the poem Out is our attitude in the face of the dead, especially the death experienced by people who we love. In his poem, Frost gives a good attitude to take when death comes to our loved ones. Even though the dead carrying deep burdens and sorrows, we should not be silent and linger in sorrow. Life must go on, though without our loved one beside us. Number 2, elaborate the message from the poet. So the message that Robert Frost once show us is that death can come anytime, anywhere without us knowing in the first place. He describes how brief human lifespan is. So he's trying to tell us to make as more as possible good deeds while we live. And he also teaches us how to take an attitude towards someone dead. Even though the death of our loved ones can be our burden, we must go on with our life without sorrow. Number 3, create a poem. So this is the first poem, Simul. Joe had a little cat. His fur is white as snow, and everywhere Joe went, the little cat followed him. Metaphor. Michael is a punching machine, taking a rock down by pushing it. Power comes from anywhere, we're just too blind to see. Hyperbole. Vivi can eat a buffalo, eating everything on the buffet. Many stuck to she will still happily eating. Metonymy. I need a hand with the dishes. Can I lend you one? One is already enough. I'm more than grateful. In this case, hand is like a help. Okay, so that's all of my answer for this final project. Thank you for listening.